Greetings, gardeners.
That is what we were talking about. It is season 2, and we're back with Tend to Thrive. And this is going to be a fun episode where we're going to be reintroducing ourselves and where we're at. And we are in a new location for recording. Yes. If you didn't notice, we are on YouTube if you want to watch us too.
Yeah, and hopefully you can hear a little bit of a difference as well. We had been in a larger room. It was not a studio room by any means, and now we're in a much smaller room. We've got a little bit better sound around us, and so I think
hopefully it's a little bit better this time around for season 2. So Abigail, we're going to take us into some fun questions. Go through it.
Yeah, so first question, a little bit kind of about us reintroducing. How old are we? We're both in our 20s, late 20s, getting to the end. I
cannot believe that. Yep. My birthday is actually like next week, and I'm struggling with the number 27.
Yeah, every year I'm like, oh boy. I just keep telling everybody, yeah, I'm 26. I'm 26. And it's like, I don't think I am anymore. I don't think so. Pretty sure I'm past that now. Which brings us to the next question. How many kids do we have? Do you have? And I do.
How many kids do we have?
How many kids?
Is it a we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a mom to 3 boys, and my oldest is preschool age. I have a 3-year-old, and then I have an 18-month-old right now. And yeah, I am also married. My husband's name is Alex.
Yeah, I have 1 baby and 1 on the way.
Woo! Confetti pop.
And yes, my little one is just under 18 months. So it's going to be a fun year for us.
So exciting.
And speaking of kids, how many siblings did you grow up with?
See, this is very important. I have 3 older brothers, so I am the youngest of my family, the one and only girl.
The girl.
Yes, and we need to know Abigail.
Yes, I am number 5 of 7, and I am the middle daughter of 3. So, surrounded by boys as well.
It's a good mix.
Yeah, it's fun. It brings some fun personality to us, I think. Cassidy, what are some work background that you have? Tell us about you. What's your experience? Can I see your resume, please? Are you qualified?
I have like 2 lines in my resume. Okay. Do you really want to know my first job? Jimmy John's.
Really? Yeah, I don't think I knew that.
Yep, that was my very first job. Okay, my only work experience is actually working as a secretary at my church / school at the time. And that's where I hopped into a little bit of work experience. And then I'm a full-time mom.
Yeah, full-time mom. And you also have an education in...
it was like digital media, but it was like training you for like online marketing. And so funny how that kind of turned out like a good match for what we're doing now. Isn't that kind of cool how God uses every little bit of experience for something?
Yeah, and you know what? I think that he could really use your sandwich making skills too.
My husband agrees.
Yeah. Yeah, my work experience, I grew up on a family business, so working there, and then I worked as an EMT in emergency medical services, and then I taught, and I was a high school PE and health teacher, and yes, now I am a stay-at-home mom and really learning to embrace it and love it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun because you get to wear so many different hats and do a bazillion different random jobs.
Yeah, and it's cool too because, I mean, you never know what's going to pop up. Like, I think that we call ourselves stay-at-home moms, but then it's like, oh, today I'm actually going to be volunteering here, and this week I'm working here. And
it's really cool. So our next thing that we wanted to step into was our testimony. Did you want to start us out on sharing your testimony with us?
Sure. So I grew up in a really godly, biblical-based home. And when I was 6 years old, I was led to the Lord doing my Patch the Pirate homework. I was doing it with my mom, and she just asked, Abby, do you recognize that you're a sinner? And yes, Mom.
I know very well.
And Abby, where would you go if you were to die today? Well, without Jesus, I know that I would go to hell. And so she explained and walked me through how Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, and he saved me from the penalty of death. And it's not works that I've done, but it's what he's done. And then when I was 8 years old, I was baptized, and I stepped forward in obedience, wanting to show those around me that, yes, I am a Christian and I identify with Christ, and I belong to him. And so that's what that baptism was. And then going through, really, once I got into high school, I knew that the Lord was prompting my heart to really live a life for him rather than just for myself, and to go into service. And so that was really where becoming an EMT started. Was I wanted to be able to share the Lord with those that were in need. And so I had an opportunity to work in Milwaukee, in the north side of Milwaukee. And it was really just incredible seeing the needs of others, but the spiritual need above all else. And then going into education, working at a choice school, a Christian choice school, where many of the kids that attend, the school is Christian, but the kids are not. And so every day it was an opportunity to share the gospel. And I just am so grateful for those opportunities. And now stepping into really a podcast ministry, and how exciting that has been.
How cool to be able to reach people through the internet these days.
The
interweb.
Special.
Yes. So my testimony is quite similar in our ages with, I came to know Christ at the age of 6 as well. And it was through an Awana ministry. And that night, when my mom was actually the Sparkies leader, she was leading the group through a Bible lesson, and was pointing out the fact that coming to Christ, it has to be your own decision. And I grew up with many members of my family, aunts, uncles, grandparents. They were all involved in the church in some way. And so it was making that realization that I had to choose this for myself.
Right.
And so I was taken through the Bible, multiple verses to point out that, like, yes, I am a sinner. And I think it's such a cool moment that even at 6, I can still vividly remember that moment where I accepted Christ as my Savior, and the joy that I felt in wanting to share with others around me. I was baptized at the age of 10, and after that, I had a few pitfalls into my teens, but through that time, God used specific people in my life that I was anchored to him through this all, and I came back with a heart on fire, wanting to learn more about who he is. And so going into college, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with my college education, but I kept taking steps of faith, and it led me to my husband, and being a mom was really our ultimate goal. And that's where I am, and I feel very blessed.
Yeah. Praise the Lord. It is so exciting to see, you can look back at areas in your life that you might kind of cringe at, or that you shake your head at, but it's all part of how God brings us to where we are. And, in no means to elevate sin or to glorify sin, but when we step back from it, we really see, wow, how much God's goodness is shown through it. And, all praise to him through that.
Exactly.
So some life updates for us from last year to this year. Both of us are living in different places than we were last year, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
So Cassidy, tell us about that.
I moved like a whole 2 blocks away.
Which is really funny. I did not realize, whenever you were moving, it wasn't until, I think, when I came to visit you that I was like, what? You only moved 2 blocks?
Yes. And so it's an interesting story, but we are selling our other house so that we can buy some land to build a home in the next few years. And so we are moving, we just moved to a temporary place here, and this is going to be our spot until we build.
Yeah, which is very exciting. And last year we were in the middle of a big house renovation project, and so we were living with my in-laws and we were there from March until September. So that was a big chunk of the year, and we're excited to be back in our home now, and it'll be cool because we were out of the house all summer, and in Wisconsin, summer is starting. We're in spring still, but it feels like summer is starting, and so it's been really fun getting outside and doing projects, which leads us to, do we have any big projects going on this year?
What did I write down? I always have something big going on, I feel like, but
you are a project girl. 100%.
I love staying busy. Just give me more stuff to do. Okay, one of the things that God laid on my heart to work on this year, I wrote it on my New Year's resolution that I really want to focus on this year, and it's pursuing training to help other people in biblical counseling. And so I'm slow but steady, trying to chug along and just get through a lot of different resources. It takes up a lot of time. Yeah. And so that's a big project that I'm pursuing this year. And then something that we're working on for the podcast is a devotional book, and it's going to be a 7-day devotional book, but it still feels like it's a little bit of a leap out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that feels like a project to me. Other than that, something just basic is I'm really trying to work on our yard in our new little place here and make it really nice and put together.
Yeah. And yes, the projects that you listed were, I feel like, much more worthy than mine. I didn't
know which direction you wanted to take it.
Which I think is great. You took it a great direction. Yeah. As far as projects go, we're mainly just doing kind of outside projects this year. But yes, also working on the book. Trying to chip in.
Effort here.
Cassidy is she is leading us on that. She is much more diligent than I am. What is your spiritual gift?
When I saw this on the question list, I was like, I don't know. I remember taking a spiritual gift quiz a couple years ago, and it was one of those that was on a paper, and you had to kind of sort through it yourself. And I was like, I don't know if I did that right. So I did go online and try to find one, and I don't know if I found exactly the right thing, but I went through like 100 questions for this thing.
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, okay, I will give you my results, and I'm not 100% sure exactly if they have me in the right spot. My number one, I guess this is pretty, it's called it administration. So the organizer, the motivator, and I was like, okay, that does sound pretty close.
Yeah.
My number 2 and 3 were called exhortation and shepherding.
Ooh.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I have also done different tests in the past, and I feel like, I've gotten kind of varying results, and I don't know if some of it, I'm really not sure. I'm not an expert in spiritual gifts. I don't know if some of it comes with as you're growing spiritually, and it does change through the years. But I do know that in a previous one that I had taken, that giving was fairly high up there, and serving. I like both of those aspects, and
very cool.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy serving in that capacity.
Helping other people.
Yes. So that kind of brings us to then, would you say that there's a spiritual gift that you look at on the list and you say, ooh, that is a struggle?
Giving and serving.
Which is so funny because administration and encouragement are
so they had lined up like the spiritual gifts and gave you like your score off of them. And yes, on the bottom of those was giving and serving. And maybe it's because I feel not, I don't easily see other people's needs as fast as I would like to. And so I feel that kind of disqualifies me from that sometimes.
Yeah, and it's an area that definitely can be grown in.
Exactly.
Yes, my weak ones were your strengths. You can see how opposite we are.
That's
Administration, organization, all those very low. And then same with encouraging words. That's something that I really have to work on.
How cool is that, though? Complimenting each other over here.
That's right.
All right, what do we have next?
So the next thing then really ties in well. And do you have any kind of spiritual goals for this year?
Something that I had seen in your notes is something that you were memorizing, and I thought that was funny because I'm also just started memorizing Psalm 34.
Oh,
I was encouraged to go through those 22 verses, and I just started like last week. So I'm on
that is so funny. I just started this week. I
the
started
Spirit
on
of the
Monday.
Lord is convicting
Yes.
our hearts
Wow.
like, poke, poke.
Well, I was at a funeral not too long ago, and she had started memorizing Psalm 119,
Whoa.
and she was 88 verses in before she passed away.
Whoa.
And I just was so challenged by that, and that was a big aspect of her life, was know God's word, truly have it in your heart. And I've been reading in Romans, and I got to Romans 8, and I have a few
so good
verses from Romans 8 memorized, and I thought, I just need to memorize the whole chapter. So I'm up to verse 6 today, and they're not all memorized, but they're getting there.
Something that had surprised me, because I knew that verse memorization is like such a good thing, but it takes time and dedication to sit down and remember it. I've had a verse memorization app for years, and I barely touch it. And so the app, if you want one, it's called Verses, and it's kind of like fill in the blank or tap to reveal or type it out. And that is so helpful too. But anyway, something that stuck out to me when learning a verse is that it's so applicable to every part of my day. Yeah. I've been saying it over and over to my boys. Verse 1 is mostly like sticking out. I will bless the Lord at all times. Yeah. His praise will continually be in my mouth. And that's been like all the time, is just saying, you know what? Are we blessing the Lord with our mouth right now? And that was so cool that it's able to be right there.
Yes. So that brings us to our next question is, what type of wrapper are you most likely to find in your car, Cassidy?
This has been the same wrapper for a long time now. It is a Kind bar. It's the chocolate protein. I think it's like a breakfast bar or something. Yeah. But those will save me from a sugar low so well. Yeah. It's like my go-to all the time.
I just cleared out of my car a big handful of string cheese. And that is definitely, between me and my toddler, we're eating string cheese all the time.
String cheese is the best snack. That reminds me, there is a song that she was actually just on American Idol or something. Maybe it was one of the... Anyway, her song was called String Cheese, and she's a believer, though. Okay. And it's a beautiful song about motherhood and being in the depths of your toddler days, where they bring you the string cheese and like, open this for me, Mom.
I was not expecting that. I'm gonna have to look it
You're
up.
You're gonna have to look up the song.
Maybe that will be our song of the week. String cheese.
Isn't that funny? Okay.
That is really funny. Our next question is, would you rather have to spend a day with Jonah or a day with Samson?
This is funny. How did you choose Jonah and Samson?
Well, Jonah, he just is kind of a complainer in my mind. He obviously has some redeeming qualities, but if I think about having to spend a day with Jonah as he's going through Nineveh and smelling like a whale, I don't think I want to hang out with him.
Maybe it's not right after his whale. Okay.
Maybe, but maybe it is, but Cassidy.
Samson sounds like one of those that would drive me completely nuts to be around.
Which is the next, it's not really, okay, would you rather? Because, Samson, you read about him and it's
prideful fella.
Super prideful, super low patience for people asking fairly simple questions, and he just, gets mad.
I don't know. Both
of these guys have redeeming qualities, and we find testimonies of their great faith. But if you had to spend a whole day with one of them, which would it be?
I think it would totally be Jonah, though. Because I think of Jonah specifically the moments when he's sitting under his withering plant that God gave him.
Yeah, you want to hang out with him then?
I think it could do me some good, for one. Be like, this is what you shouldn't be doing. And then for two, I'm so intrigued to know the rest of his story. I want to sit with Jonah and
Yeah,
hear what
that's
happened after the withered plant. Did you like switch your life around, or was it just still?
All right, next. Which woman of the Bible would you ask for a kitchen recipe from?
I feel like the standard answer to this would be, well, Martha, because she's busy in the kitchen. That was
a
the
good one.
first
I didn't
one.
even think of that
But
one.
then after that, the next person I thought of was Ruth. And it was because she was hanging out with her mother-in-law.
Mhm.
And I think that combination right there, you had to have some good cooking going on.
I sure hope so. My answer was Abigail, because she was able to fend off an entire army of hungry soldiers with her cooking. So
She's like, I'd be myself.
yeah, I'd be me.
Does the hair That was too good. See, I didn't even think about that one.
Which then brings us to, what is your go-to meal for hosting?
Okay, so a couple of things. It's an appetizer dip that is often at our family parties. It's called BLT dip.
Ooh.
It's a combination of mayo and sour cream. You put some cheese in there, some tomatoes, and a bunch of crispy bacon chopped into little bits. And it's really good with some crispy crackers.
That sounds really good.
It's like everyone that tries it is like, well, I'm not normally like a mayo fan, and they try it and they're like, dude, this is so good. And so that's a staple that we bring to parties. And then if I was hosting, we don't honestly host for dinner very often.
Sure.
And so normally it's honestly pizza.
That's
but
fair.
if I was going to make something, I really love a good pulled pork.
Oh,
I just made one the other week that wasn't in the slow cooker. It was like in the oven.
Ooh.
And it was really
So good.
super simple. Going on Pinterest, like, what spices do I put in this puppy?
Yeah.
Stick some apple cider vinegar in there with some water. So good.
Yeah, super good, super easy, and then the leftovers are phenomenal too.
They go with
If there
everything.
are
You can
any.
make leftover tacos with those, leftover nachos, sandwiches, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's
Sometimes
very versatile.
if I'm meal prepping, I'll do a really big thing of it and then freeze some, and then we've got all kinds of options. My go-to is actually lasagna.
Dude.
I don't mean to brag, but I do like my lasagna, and I feel like it turns out well every time. It's not that complicated, and like it's easy to make a really big batch of.
Exactly. So, yes, we love a good lasagna here. Do you use ground beef? Do you use sausage? What do you use?
I use ground beef.
Very nice.
Ground beef and then a nice long simmer sauce.
Now, I used to do mine with ground beef, and my husband said, you should try it with brats in it. Chopped up. And that's how we do it every time now.
Game changer.
It's so good.
That sounds like super good flavor. So, now we're totally switching gears again. What is your favorite book of the Bible and why?
This is a really hard question for me. I sat down and I thought about it for probably longer than I needed to. And I decided to pull out my journal Bible because that's normally where I have stuff written down. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to look and see like which book of the Bible feels like I have a lot of things written in the margins.
Which is a pretty good tell. Yeah.
Right. And I was flipping through the New Testament, and Mark, surprisingly, was like standing out to me. I was like, wow, I didn't know that I had so much written down in Mark. And then I like to use some like Bible highlighters too. And the most colorful chapter right now is actually Titus, because I was just starting to sit down and really study through that kind of verse by verse.
Yeah.
So that's two books of the
Titus
Bible
and Mark.
that I think really are standing out to me right now.
Yeah, those are good ones. Probably my top book of the Bible is Genesis. I really appreciate Genesis. It's the foundation, it's the starting point, but it's an intriguing book as well. And there's lots of just excellent stories of history and what happened, and lots of head scratchers in there. And so I really enjoy going through, and there are a lot of parallels all throughout and a lot of repetition. And it's so interesting to follow the families and see how things repeat and get carried on. And it's like, wow,
That's so true.
Yeah, something really to take notice of. So I think Genesis is my number one.
Good deal.
Which brings us to really our final question of this. And what is maybe the hardest book of the Bible for you? One that you kind of struggle getting into? I have a couple. Judges is one, and Judges is high up there because it's such a painful book. We were talking about Samson earlier. It is so full of failure and so full of just repeated mistakes. I get kind of like Genesis, we see that. But Judges is really, really sad to me.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard for me to open up. Interestingly enough, probably the next one on my list would be Hebrews. And that is because it's so theologically depthy that I'm reading through it and I feel really confused. And
I think I agree with you on that.
Where, and there's so much controversy on it. And you could say the same thing for like a book of Revelation where there's a lot of different views. But Hebrews is definitely a hard one. It challenges me spiritually. But I feel like I really have to gear up for it and really, okay, Lord, take the reins.
I gotta agree with you on that. Something that did come to my mind right away was Numbers. It's like the same thing where it's like lots of different names of people over and over. And this clan did this and this and this and this. And I mean, not my favorite place to sit and read.
I don't mind Numbers and Leviticus. Well, that wraps up a lot of questions about us and a nice little overview of where we've been, what we're up to. And that brings us to
Song of the Week.
Dun, da, da.
Oh, I was waiting to see if that's what you actually wanted to do.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's go with String Cheese then.
String Cheese.
We'll make sure to link
know
it.
Who the artist is?
I want to say her name is Melody or something, but I might be completely off.
String Cheese by Melody or something.
It'll be in the notes below.
Check the notes. Hey, it's Abigail. Find us on Instagram at 10.thrive and leave us a comment. Give us a take it or leave it. Let us know if you found any fruit in this episode or if we got a little lost in the weeds.